Imagine waking before the sun, not to chase your dreams but simply to survive. Every sunrise means hours of backbreaking labor on land you don't own, with no guarantee your family will have enough to eat by winter. This wasn't an unusual life. It was the everyday reality for millions of medieval farmers. Today we're stepping into their world to discover what a single day was really like. There is no alarm clock, no gentle chime to ease you into the day. There is only darkness and the cold press of dawn air seeping through a wall of mud and timber, and a single brutal truth waiting for you the moment your eyes open. If you do not rise now, your family may not eat this winter. Imagine it, not as a story, as your life. You own almost nothing. The roof over your head belongs to another man. The soil under your fingernails belongs to another man. Even the hours of your day are not fully your own, owed in part to a lord you may never speak to, whose name means the difference between your children surviving to spring or not. You have no bank, no safety net, no second chance. One bad storm, one late frost, one field of blackened, diseased grain, and starvation isn't a threat. It's a countdown. This was not the exception in medieval Europe. This was almost everyone. Forget the knights in gleaming armor. Forget the kings on their thrones, the banners, the castle walls rising toward the sky. Those are the stories history chose to remember, but they are not the story of the Middle Ages. Nearly 9 out of every 10 people living through this era were not warriors or nobles. They were farmers, peasants, men, women, and children whose names were never written down, whose faces were never painted, whose entire existence was measured in harvests survived and winters endured. They didn't build the castles because they wanted to be remembered. They built them, fed them, and paid for them because they had no other choice. Today we're not going to follow a king through a war. We're going to follow one ordinary farmer, a man with no name in any history book, through a single day. One summer day somewhere in Europe around the 13th century. No battles, no thrones, just a sunrise, a field, and the terrifying invisible weight of survival pressing down on every hour of daylight. Because this is the day that actually built the medieval world. Not the one in the storybooks, the one that happened while no one was watching. It starts before the sun rises, before the rooster even calls out into the dark. In a cottage smaller than most modern bedrooms, a family is already stirring. Because in this world, the moment you open your eyes, the clock is already working against you. And by the time that rooster finally does crow, the hardest, most unforgiving day of the medieval calendar will already be underway. What happens in the next few hours will decide whether this family eats tonight, or whether tonight is the first of many nights they go without. The darkness inside the cottage is almost total. No glass fills the single small window cut into the wall, only a shutter of rough wood, closed tight against the night air, against wolves, against the cold that creeps in regardless. The only light comes from the faintest gray smudge at the edge of that shutter, the first whisper that somewhere beyond these walls, the sun is beginning to stir. He is already awake, not because he wants to be. His body has simply learned, over years of the same brutal rhythm, that lying still any longer is a luxury he cannot afford. Beside him, his wife stirs in the straw. Their children are pressed close, small bodies tangled together for warmth, and near the foot of the bed, because there is nowhere else for it to go, a goat shifts and exhales into the dark. In a home this size, one single room holding every member of the family, and sometimes the animals that keep them alive, there is no separation between human warmth and animal warmth. There is only survival, huddled together against the cold. The air is thick. Smoke from last night's dying hearth fire still hangs near the low ceiling, with nowhere to escape but the cracks in the thatch above. It stings the eyes. It coats the lungs. Every single morning, every single night, for an entire lifetime. This is what breathing meant in a peasant's home, and he has never known anything different. He rises first. There is no ceremony to it, no comfort. Just the immediate physical demand of the day already pressing down on his shoulders before his feet have even touched the packed earth floor. There is one outfit hanging near the door. Not a wardrobe, not a choice. One coarse woolen tunic, patched more times than anyone could count, worn through summer heat and winter frost alike because there is no other option. He pulls it on in the dark, the fabric rough and familiar against his skin, and already his mind is racing ahead, to the field, to the sky, to whether the clouds gathering on the horizon yesterday evening might mean rain today, and whether rain might mean ruin. His wife is awake now too, moving quickly, quietly toward the hearth. The fire from the night before has burned down to embers, and she coaxes it back to life with practiced hands, feeding it just enough to warm a pot balanced above the flame. There is no time to waste on food today, or any day. What she prepares is not a feast. It is fuel. Dark, coarse bread so dense it could sit in your stomach for hours is broken and passed around. A thin porridge, more water than grain, fills the small wooden bowls. There is ale too, poured for even the children, not out of indulgence but out of necessity. The water from the nearby stream cannot always be trusted. Disease hides in it, invisible and merciless. Ale, weak and watered as it is, has been boiled in the making. It will not kill them the way the water might. Every mouthful at this table is measured, not because anyone wants it that way but because they must. Winter is not an abstract worry. It is a countable number of weeks away, and every grain of stored food between now and then has to last. Eat too much this morning, and there may be too little in February. So breakfast is small, deliberately, painfully small, enough to keep them upright through the morning's labor, and not one bite more. Before anyone reaches for a single tool, before the door is even open to the gray light outside, they pause. Heads bow. A quiet prayer is spoken, not as ritual, but as something closer to desperation. Because in this life there is no insurance, no safety net, no guarantee that today will not be the day everything falls apart. Faith is not a luxury here. It is armor. It is the only certainty in a world built entirely on uncertainty. Then movement. Fast, practiced, wordless. The husband gathers what little he owns in the way of tools. A worn wooden hoe, a sickle with a blade sharpened down to almost nothing from years of use, a coil of rope. Nothing is new. Nothing is easily replaced. Every tool in his hands represents hours of labor just to earn, and if one breaks today, there may be no way to fix it before the harvest. His wife straps a bundle to her back. The children, barely old enough to walk steadily, are already being given small tasks, carrying water, gathering kindling, because in this world, childhood does not exempt anyone from the fight to survive. And then the door creaks open. Outside, the sky is shifting from black to a bruised, uncertain gray. Somewhere in the distance, the first rooster finally calls out, but it feels less like a greeting to the morning and more like a warning bell. A signal that the true labor is about to begin. Because as this family steps out into the cold, damp air, breakfast already fading from their stomachs, one truth hangs heavier than the mist over the fields. Everything they have eaten this morning was only meant to get them through the next few hours. What waits for them beyond that door? In the fields, under a lord's watchful demands, at the mercy of a sky that could turn on them at any moment, will determine whether this family survives the year at all. The path to the fields is narrow, worn smooth by generations of feet that walked it before his, and generations that will walk it after, if there are generations after. He moves quickly, his wife and children falling into step beside him, past the low cottages of neighbors, past the thin curls of smoke rising from other hearths where other families just went through the exact same desperate morning ritual. By the time the sun finally breaks over the horizon, fully visible now, he is already standing at the edge of the communal field, and the true weight of the day begins to settle onto his shoulders. These fields do not belong to him. They never will. This is the reality that shapes every single hour of his existence. The manor system. Somewhere beyond this field, in a hall built of stone rather than mud and timber, lives the Lord who technically owns this land. Every furrow, every seed, every stalk of grain that will grow from it. The farmer and his family are permitted to work it, permitted to live on it, permitted to survive because of it. But permission is not ownership. And that distinction will follow him to his grave. If he is a serf, and there is a strong chance he is, then he is bound to this land in a way that goes far beyond debt or duty. He cannot simply leave. He cannot walk away to seek a better lord, a kinder master, a gentler patch of earth. He is tied to this soil the way the soil is tied to the seasons. A free peasant might have slightly more room to negotiate, slightly more control over his own fate, but free is a relative word in a world where survival itself depends entirely on the harvest of someone else's land. And today, like most days, part of his labor does not even belong to him. This is corvée, days of the week, sometimes 2 or 3, when he is required to work the Lord's own private fields before he can turn any attention to his own family's survival. No payment, no choice, just obligation, inherited and inescapable. Refuse and the consequences could cost him everything: the roof over his family's heads, the small strip of land he depends on, perhaps even his freedom. So he bends to it, because he has no other option. The oxen are already waiting, massive and slow-moving, harnessed to a plow so heavy it takes every ounce of the animal's strength combined with the farmer's own exhausted muscle just to break the surface of the earth. There are no horses here, not for a man like him. Horses are fast, valuable, expensive to feed and maintain, reserved for lords and knights and men of war. Oxen are what the peasant has: slow, steady, and just barely enough. The wooden plow groans against the soil, and he pushes with everything he has, guiding it forward in long, aching lines while his wife follows behind, scattering seed into the freshly turned earth with quick, practiced movements. His children, small as they are already at work too, pulling weeds, chasing off birds, doing whatever their tiny hands are capable of. There is no version of this life where children are shielded from labor. Survival does not wait for anyone to grow up first. And above all of it, silent and merciless, hangs the sky. Every farmer in this field glances upward more times in a single morning than he could count, because the sky does not care about his family, his hunger, his fear. A summer without rain can shrivel a season's worth of grain into dust before it ever has the chance to ripen, and drought, when it comes, doesn't announce itself. It creeps in day by dry day, until the desperation becomes impossible to ignore. A single violent storm can flatten weeks of careful growth in an afternoon, hail tearing through young stalks, wind ripping apart everything that took months of backbreaking labor to build. And even if the weather holds, even if the rain comes at just the right moments and the sun warms without scorching, there is still the quiet, creeping terror of disease, blight spreading silently through a field, turning healthy grain black and rotten almost overnight, wiping out in days what took an entire season to grow. There is no insurance against any of this, no safety net, no government aid waiting on the other side of a bad harvest. If the crop fails, the consequence is not inconvenience, it is hunger. It is watching your children grow thinner through the winter months. It is the very real, terrifying possibility of death. And even when the harvest succeeds, even when the fields yield exactly what they're supposed to, the farmer still does not get to keep it all. A portion goes to the Lord, owed simply for the right to work this land. Another portion, the church tithe, is owed as well, roughly 1/10 of everything produced, collected without negotiation, without exception. By the time both obligations are paid, what remains for his own family is a fraction of what their hands actually built. Sometimes barely enough. Sometimes, in a bad year, not enough at all. There is no doctor waiting nearby if something goes wrong out here either. A wrong step near the ox's hooves, a slip of the sickle's blade, a wrenched back from hours of relentless bending and lifting, any of it could mean an injury that, in this world, has no real treatment. No medicine beyond herbs and prayer. A broken leg could mean weeks without labor, and weeks without labor could mean a season lost, and a season lost could mean a winter that ends in starvation. This is the truth hiding beneath every peaceful painting of the countryside, every idyllic image of golden fields under a summer sky. This land is beautiful, and this land is lethal. Every single motion out here, every swing of the sickle, every push against the plow, every seed pressed into the soil, is not simply labor. It is a bet placed again and again against hunger, against the Lord's demands, against the unpredictable, indifferent sky. And by late afternoon, when the sun begins its long, slow descent and the farmer finally straightens his aching back to look out across the field he does not own, worked with tools he can barely afford to replace, he is left with a single haunting question hanging over everything he has just endured. After all of this, after the debt to the Lord and the debt to the church, and the desperate hope that the sky stays kind, will there be enough left over to actually keep his family alive through the winter? To find out what happens when this family finally leaves the fields behind and returns home to face the rest of the day, make sure you're subscribed, because what comes next reveals just how fragile survival truly was, even after the sun went down. By midday, the sun sits high and unforgiving overhead, and for a brief moment, the relentless rhythm of the field pauses. Not stops, pauses. Because even rest in this world is rationed. The family gathers near the edge of the field, and his wife unwraps the small bundle she carried from home. There is no grand meal waiting. There is pottage, a thick simmering mixture of whatever vegetables and grains the family can spare, cabbage and onions softened into a gray-brown stew that has likely been simmering over the hearth's embers since before dawn. There is bread again, but a keen eye would notice something the farmer feels every single day of his life. The color and texture of that bread says everything about where his family stands in the world. Dark, coarse, mixed with barley or rye or whatever grain stretches furthest. This is peasant bread. Somewhere beyond the fields, in the manor house, the Lord's table holds bread made of pure white wheat flour, soft and pale. A luxury this farmer will likely never taste in his entire life. Bread in this world is not just food. It is a silent, edible measurement of exactly how much power a person holds or doesn't. There is cheese today, a small hard piece, sharp and salty, and if they are fortunate, a scrap of meat. But meat is rare, precious. An animal represents wool, milk, labor, breeding. Killing it for food is a last resort, not a regular indulgence. Most days, meat is absent from the table entirely, and its presence today means something. Perhaps an animal was injured, perhaps too sick to save, perhaps this is simply a small mercy on an otherwise grinding day. Whatever the reason, no one asks. They simply eat quickly, gratefully, because there is no time to savor anything in this life. And already, even during this brief pause, the next set of tasks is pressing in. While the men remain in the fields for the afternoon's labor, the household does not simply wait for them to return. It runs constantly on the backs of the women and children left behind. His wife rises from the meal already thinking 3 steps ahead. Water needs fetching from the stream, a walk that must be repeated multiple times a day. Heavy clay jugs balanced against her hip, her body absorbing the toll so her family doesn't go thirsty. The livestock need tending, the goat, perhaps a few chickens scratching in the dirt, maybe a single precious pig being fattened for autumn. Feed them wrong, neglect them for even a day or two, and the family risks losing the very animals that stand between them and complete disaster. There is wool to spin, turned patiently by hand into thread that will eventually become clothing, blankets, anything that might help this family survive the brutal months of winter still ahead. There is bread to bake, ale to brew. Not a hobby but a necessity, since clean water cannot always be trusted, and ale, weak and homemade, offers something safer to drink. Every single one of these tasks is unglamorous, exhausting, and utterly essential. Miss one, fall behind on another, and the consequences ripple forward into the coming months with terrifying weight. And the children are not spared from any of it. From an age that would shock a modern parent, they are already contributing, carrying water, minding smaller siblings, chasing birds from drying grain, learning to spin or weave or tend animals almost as soon as they can walk steadily. There is no childhood here in the way the word is understood today. There is only the family's collective, desperate effort to make it to next spring. Beyond the walls of their own small home, the village itself hums with its own tense, interconnected rhythm. The blacksmith's hammer rings out somewhere in the distance, shaping and repairing the tools every family depends on. And if the farmer's own plow blade or sickle breaks in the coming days, his relationship with that blacksmith could mean the difference between resuming work quickly or losing precious time he cannot afford to lose. The miller controls something even more critical: the grinding of grain into flour, a service that comes at a cost, taking yet another small percentage of the family's already stretched harvest. And the priest, moving quietly through the village, holds an entirely different kind of power, spiritual authority that shapes the calendar, the moral order, and the quiet hope that sustains people through hardship they cannot otherwise explain. Market day, when it comes, is one of the rare moments of relief in this suffocating routine. Neighbors gather, trade what little surplus they have, exchange news, and yes, gossip, sharp and quick, about which family's harvest is struggling, which lord is growing crueler, which household might be hiding something. In a world without newspapers or messengers, gossip is information. It's survival intelligence, passed mouth to mouth, and everyone listens closely, because knowing which neighbor's well has gone dry or which road has become dangerous with bandits might just save your own family from the same fate. Seasonal festivals arrive even more rarely, tied to the church calendar and the rhythm of the harvest itself: brief, treasured pockets of music, shared food, and communal laughter in lives otherwise defined by exhausting, repetitive labor. These moments are not indulgent. They are essential release valves in a pressure cooker existence. Small sparks of joy fiercely protected because they are so few and far between. But even now, even in this brief midday pause surrounded by neighbors and community and the low murmur of village life continuing around them, the farmer cannot fully relax. Because he knows, with the same certainty that the sun will set tonight, that the moment the afternoon's fieldwork ends, an entirely different set of burdens will be waiting back at their tiny cottage. The animals will need securing. The evening meal will need preparing. And with the day's light fading fast, there will be precious little time left to finish everything that absolutely must be finished before darkness falls completely. Because out here, when night comes, it doesn't just bring rest. It brings danger, wolves prowling closer to unprotected livestock, the risk of fire from an unattended hearth, the ever-present fear of something going wrong in the dark with no help nearby. As the family rises from their brief midday meal and turns back toward the fields for the final grueling stretch of the afternoon, one uneasy thought lingers beneath everything else. The sun is already beginning its slow descent toward the horizon, and there is still so much left to do before nightfall arrives, uninvited and unforgiving. The light is failing now, and with it, the small margin of safety the day had offered begins to close. Somewhere across the village, the church bell tolls low and steady, marking the hour the way nothing else in this world can. There are no clocks in this cottage, no way to measure time except by the position of the sun and the ringing of that bell. And right now, it is telling him what his aching body already knows. The day's labor is over. But the day's dangers are not. Before anything else, before food, before rest, the animals must be secured. He moves quickly through the fading light, checking the goat, the chickens, whatever small livestock this family depends on for survival, making certain every gate is latched, every enclosure sealed tight. This is not caution for its own sake. Beyond the edge of the village, in the darkening tree-line, wolves wait. They have taken livestock before. Sometimes livestock is all they take. Other times families have lost far more. A single unlatched gate, one careless mistake in the exhaustion of a long day, and an entire winter's food supply could vanish into the dark in a matter of minutes. And wolves are not the only danger stirring as the light dies. Bandits move along the quieter roads after nightfall, desperate men who, in their own way, are fighting the exact same losing battle against hunger and hardship, except they've chosen to take rather than grow. A farmer traveling alone after dark, or a household with an unlocked door, becomes a target. So the door is barred, the animals are locked away, and the family retreats fully into the small, smoke-stained walls of their one-room cottage, the outside world sealed off until morning. Inside, a single candle or a small oil lamp offers the only light against the growing darkness, weak, flickering, precious. Wax and oil cost something this family can barely spare, so the flame is kept low, used sparingly, extinguished the moment it's no longer absolutely necessary. Most of the evening will unfold in near total darkness, voices and shapes more than faces. Supper is simple, similar to the meals before it. Pottage again, perhaps a heel of the dark bread from morning, whatever remains from the day's provisions. There is no surplus to draw from, no pantry stocked for indulgence. What they eat tonight is measured against what must still last until the next harvest, and that calculation never fully leaves anyone's mind, even in these quiet hours. And yet, in the dim candlelight, something softens. This is the one part of the day that belongs, even briefly, to the family alone. Voices lower. A story is told, perhaps passed down from a grandparent, half history and half legend, of saints and miracles, of dangers survived by those who came before. The children, exhausted from a full day of labor themselves, listen with wide eyes, forgetting for a moment the ache in their small hands and backs. Simple games might follow, nothing elaborate, nothing requiring tools or money, just voices and hands and the rare, fragile luxury of laughter in a life otherwise defined by grinding necessity. But even here, in this small pocket of warmth, the fears of the wider world creep in at the edges. Disease is a constant, invisible threat, one that can enter a home without warning and take a child in a matter of days. There is no real medicine to fight it, only herbs, prayer, and desperate hope. Fire is another silent terror. A single spark from the hearth catching the wrong way, in a home built of wood and thatch and dried straw, could destroy everything this family owns in minutes, leaving them with absolutely nothing as winter approaches. Famine looms permanently on the horizon, one bad season away at all times, an ever-present shadow behind every meal, every stored grain sack, every glance at the sky. And the coming winter itself is its own kind of enemy, brutal, freezing, unforgiving to the weak, the sick, the very young, and the very old. For the mother in this household, there is another fear that rarely leaves her, one rarely spoken aloud but always present: childbirth. In this era, bringing a new life into the world is one of the most dangerous things a woman can do. Without proper medical care, without any guarantee that mother or child will survive the ordeal. And depending on the exact century, an even darker shadow may hang somewhere in the distance of collective memory. The plague, capable of erasing entire villages in a matter of weeks, a horror so severe it reshaped the world itself wherever it struck. Against all of this, the wolves, the bandits, the disease, the fire, the endless uncertainty of survival. This family has only one true source of comfort: faith. It is not a passive belief reserved for Sundays. It shapes everything, every decision, every hope. The church calendar dictates the rhythm of the entire year, marking when to plant, when to fast, when to celebrate, when to grieve. And more than anything, faith offers something this brutal, uncertain world cannot. The promise that suffering here is not meaningless, that mercy and reward wait somewhere beyond this life, even if tomorrow brings nothing but more of the same hardship. Hope for this family does not rest in tomorrow's weather, or the health of their livestock, or the mercy of their Lord. It rests somewhere higher, somewhere beyond their control entirely, because everything within their control has already proven how fragile it can be. Prayers are spoken again before sleep, quieter now, more tired, but no less sincere than the ones spoken at dawn. One by one exhaustion wins. The children drift off first, still tangled together in the straw for warmth. His wife follows soon after, her body finally allowed to stop moving after a day that never truly paused. And last of all, the farmer himself lies down, his muscles aching, his mind still turning over the calculations of harvest and taxes and the ever-present threat of the sky turning against him. Tomorrow, he knows, will look almost exactly like today. The same darkness before dawn, the same fields, the same fears waiting in the shadows beyond the firelight. But as his eyes finally close, one unsettling thought lingers in the silence of the cottage, a thought that has haunted farmers for generations, and one that will not be answered tonight. What happens when a day like this one doesn't go as planned? When the rain doesn't come? When the wolves get through? When the harvest fails? Because somewhere out there, beyond the edge of tonight's uneasy peace, that day is coming. And no one in this cottage knows exactly when. You won't find his name in any history book. No monument was built for him. No portrait was painted, no ballad written. No record kept beyond a scattered line in a tax roll he never even saw. And yet everything, every castle wall, every royal feast, every church bell, every army that ever marched to war, existed because someone like him woke up in the dark, day after day, and simply refused to stop. Millions of farmers like this one, scattered across medieval Europe, fed entire kingdoms with their bare hands. They built the economies that let lords grow wealthy and kings grow powerful. They kept villages alive through disease, drought, and war. They fed the armies that fought for glory they would never share in, and filled the coffers of churches whose grand cathedrals rose stone by stone on the back of their labor. While kings clashed over borders and crowns, while castles climbed higher and higher into the medieval sky, it was this quiet, unglamorous, relentless labor, hidden in muddy fields far from any throne, that actually held civilization together. Remove the knights and history still moves forward. Remove the farmers and everything collapses within a single season. That's the part textbooks so often leave out. History loves the powerful. It loves the crowns, the swords, the battles with names and dates. But power was never the foundation. Survival was. And survival was built one exhausting day at a time by people the world chose to forget. So if you truly want to understand the Middle Ages, not the myth, not the movie version, but the real, breathing, terrifying truth of it, don't start in the castle. Start in the field. Start before sunrise in a smoke-filled cottage, where an ordinary man picked up a worn wooden hoe, knowing nothing was guaranteed, and walked out into the dark anyway, because an entire kingdom, whether it knew it or not, was depending on him. He never asked for recognition. He never got it. But every single day he survived was a quiet act of defiance against a world that offered him nothing and demanded everything. And that raises a question worth sitting with. How many other invisible lives in how many other centuries have carried the weight of entire civilizations, without a single page of history ever remembering their name? If this story pulled you into a world you'd never truly seen before, don't let it end here. Like this video, subscribe to Hidden Origins, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next hidden history waiting to be uncovered. Drop a comment and tell me, whose story do you think deserves to be told next?